Hello, this is editing Mia popping in to give a warning for this episode. Somehow the audio gets even worse this episode, I can promise. It's all uphill from here. But, so you may notice throughout, my microphone, especially near the end, starts buzzing. I've tried editing out the best I can, but yeah, there may just be a lot of parts that are completely incomprehensible, and I'm very sorry for that. And so yeah, you can just, you can use your imagination. This really episode is all about you using your imagination to imagine what it possibly could be saying in between the buzzes. So yeah, have fun with that. Also, take a shot every single time I either say woo or 100%, because yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, enjoy the episode. Cool.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the first episode of the HMS Pod when Mia chomping on her biscuit.
I know, I've got biscuits, I've got tea. My tea of choice this episode, we're doing a tea of choice every episode now. That's what we've discussed. Because I will be drinking tea with every episode. Because of course I am, and you stay on brand. So my tea of choice is green tea. This was 50p from Aldi because we love a bargain.
Y'all got Aldi?
Currently, we do have Aldi. She's my best friend.
Aldi.
I know, I love Aldi. Aldi is my and to hear that it's in America as well. And it's good to know that there are pockets of goodness across the world,
Yeah, we all need an Aldi.
Yeah.
Leave a comment below. Do you have Aldi in your state/country? We want to know so we can pray for you.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know. Anyway, Ash Banks, episode 1. It's a bit long-winded. Episode 1. Let us begin. But yeah, I think should we begin first with revealing how we each got into Ash Banks? I feel like that'd be a fun little.
That seems appropriate. Yeah, I think that definitely has a place here. Mia, how did you get into Outer Banks? / what was your intro into the group chat? Oh my God, I'll go first. Mia just shoved another cookie for Americans into her mouth right as she was trying to introduce the talking point.
I thought you were going to begin, so I was like, this is my eating time.
I'm so sorry. I should have watched as you were shoveling it in. That's on me. Yeah, that's fine. I can go first. So it was 2020. I was finishing up school, and a friend of mine that I went to college with, who is very much a local in the most basic definition. She told me that I should watch this show because John B is hot. That was her. That's how local she is.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was her intro to it. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll watch it. Keep in mind, I was in the midst of a fandom vacuum at this stage in my life because Anne with an E had just ended in 2019, suddenly and tragically been ripped out from underneath me. So
R.I.P. Anne.
Yeah, I was in a vacuum. I was looking for something, and it had found family. I was Team GR pretty much from episode 1, and then when I found the online presence, Giara was kind of a big thing for locals, but it didn't really have a big fandom internet Tumblr presence yet. So yeah, I stuck it out.
You could argue say that you were the one who began the Tumblr Giara presence.
Yeah, I don't want to say that I started the Tumblr Giara fandom, but I did. And I was very casual about it. No one was really super watching it with me. My friends, Kate, shout out to Kate, Em, and Caitlin, who are now in the GR fandom and the group chat, but they had come with me from Teen Wolf, and I was desperately looking for a fandom for them to jump in with me, and they were not into it at first. So I was very out of it. And then, lo and behold, this random ass girl from Tumblr named Alphinius sent me a message after I posted one singular GR fic that I can't even stomach to read now. Invited me into this group chat, and I was like, what the fuck? And I'd never used Discord before, and here I am now. And then I found out within that found out that same week that Jordan, who had invited me, lived in my town 5 minutes away from me. So we met up, and I always have to throw that in. Everyone knows at this point because I won't shut up about how I know Jordan, but that's how I got in to the group chat. Been going strong ever since, I feel like. Yeah, feel free to disagree with me. Leave a comment below if you think Alex has been going weak in the group chat, but I don't think so. Mia, what about you, now that you have swallowed?
I do hope you saw how, because I put another biscuit in my mouth. As you started, I could tell you beginning to tail off. So I don't know if you could tell that I was crunching as quickly as possible to get it down.
I was waffling.
And I appreciate that because you looking out for me. Yeah. So yeah. We're ready to do this. We're professionals. How did I get into it? I remember I got into it because of my sister. But I think the first time I was like introduced to it was because I had a friend come over, and she was like, and she's like a lot like your friend. Like she's definitely very much like a local fan. But she was like, Mia, there's this new Netflix show. It's a bit silly, but it's really funny. You need to watch it. And she showed me the trailer. And I remember my first thought was, there was a lot going on in this trailer. Like there was like,
and then there was a lot going on in the show.
Yeah, because there's romance. There was forbidden romance at that. There was like a missing dad, also a treasure hunt. People had guns. There was a lot happening. And I was like, I don't know. This feels like a lot. And then my sister, maybe like a month later, my sister was like, Mia, I just watched the show. You need to watch it with me. And I was like, fine. So we like picked a day and we like sat down and we binged the show in about 10 hours, like the entirety of the first season. I loved from that because we crammed into her bottom bunk on our bunk bed, and we propped her laptop in between us, and we sat for 10 hours watching the entire thing. And it was great. I had a great time. I think near the end, because this was her second rewatch, so her attention dwindled near the end, but I was roped in. And as soon as I finished it, I was like, I need to at least fic it. Like I just need to like sort of expel this demon. So I wrote a fic, and then I know I was like, I'll just write this one fic, famous last words, which may I say, every time you write it's just one fic. That's the devil speaking. And then I remember like thinking that everyone was really nice in all the comments, because all the comments were like really, really kind. And then this known figure, you may have heard of them, Ray of Freaking Sunshine, aka fandom royalty, but don't tell her I said that. She very uncouthly slid into my comments and was like, you should join the GR group chat. I was like, well, what's that? And then this was all happening in my comments. Like this was it was a lot, I'll say that. It sort of felt like the equivalent. Yeah, it felt like the equivalent of like a Victorian flash in that angle. I was like, Annie, we're doing this out in public.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she sent me the link, because by the time I joined, we were still a Tumblr group chat. If any of you remember what Tumblr group chats were like. Lol.
Oh my God.
And then we emigrated over to Discord, which I'd also never used before. That was a learning curve for the both of us. And here we are, 2 years strong, and making a podcast. So clearly it's gone well. Clearly we're both really know about.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of know Mia at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, we're familiar enough with each other.
Like, I feel like we could talk. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to learn more about each other throughout the podcast, but
Woo.
Definitely don't go look at our AO3s in the fic that we co-wrote together.
Oh my God.
I don't know, like that. We've never done that.
No, never. And there's definitely not chapters more coming, probably in a year. No, definitely not.
2 years. Give it 2 years, Mia. Let's be generous here.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. I didn't mean to rush us there. It'll take us 2 years to come up with another 3K chapter.
Well, I guess we just jump into the episode.
Woo! If you happen to be, maybe you can watch along. I don't know. I don't think you can watch along. I don't think we're not trying that hard to keep timings correct. But I'm sure you'll.
You can try if you want. No one's gonna stop you.
No, we physically cannot, because we are just voices on a screen. And it is a free country. So the show begins with our favorite a John B voiceover. Oh, you will, as the podcast progresses, and actually no, the podcast doesn't have to progress. Everyone knows it's about me. I love John B.
We're in this right now, right here, right now.
He is the love of my life. I love him so much. I also think, and to get sincere, Chase Stokes does an excellent job at him. You know what I mean? Because I feel like in the wrong hands, John B could have been absolute cringe fest, and he is sometimes.
I feel like we vary on this point, which we'll get into later. I love Canon John B. I have very many issues with Canon John B. I'm not a fan.
Yes, yeah, me too. John B holds a special place in my heart. Canon John B, aside from the voiceovers, which I feel like are, the peak of TV ever. Canon John B we have some issues with him, but we'll get on to that in later episodes when he starts really pissing us off. For now, he's just shirtless a lot and has good hair.
Exactly.
But so his opening line, "We're the Pogues, and our mission this summer is to have a good time all the time." Bum bum bum.
They did not actually have a good time all the time, though. It's like the biggest part of the show. We actually had a really bad time. I'd say the majority of the time we're having not a great time. So we talked about this. I think it's in our notes at the very end. But episode 1 is a good intro episode, but especially when you rewatch it, like, I was kind of bored. I'm glad that I pushed past episode 1. but John B's voiceover is arguably one of the best intros to any show. Like, the episode itself is not that strong, but John B's voiceover could give it a 10 out of 10 IMDb rating by itself.
Oh, 100%. And I think also because, like, the first, like, it wasn't until you said that I actually, like, found that I quite agreed. I think the first episode is, like, a good establishing episode when you've never watched it before. But when you have watched it before and you're doing a rewatch, you're like, this is kind of slow moving, you know, because you're like, because it is just all establishing. There's a lot to establish, but you're like, you know, let's hurry up, please.
Yes, and honestly, like, okay, so his intro to all the Pogues, he goes through an entire, like, what show has the balls to literally just show and not tell?
Yeah.
I would say, what were your initial thoughts on the Pogues? Because I guess technically at the beginning, when John B's doing his narration, we haven't been individually introduced to them yet, so it's the scene where they're all at the summer home that's being built, and then they run from the police. Did you have initial thoughts on the Pogues from just that first scene?
Oh, I think, to be honest, and maybe this is a hot take, and well, this will be a hot take. I think I didn't like JJ at first. I'll be really real with you. I think mostly he reminded me of the boys that are way too cool for me, and I was like on instinct. I was like, no, like I was like,
yeah. Well, and also,
I will say, I think I immediately gravitated towards Pope because I think Pope, there's something comforting about a good old nerd. You know, I have been compared to Pope once or twice, but we sort of ignore that.
We don't have to talk about that. But Mia is Pope.
We don't.
She is. I think I really liked Kiara first, and I don't know if it's just because I'm a girl, or if I appreciated her environmentalist commentary just like right off the bat.
Yes. As soon as she walked out talking about turtles and like this used to be a turtle habitat, I was like, go off queen. I was like, I was like, I really like her.
John B gave off main character vibes, like Derogatory from the jump though. I think like him balancing on the roof. I was 100%. Like, oh, God.
Yeah.
He's that guy, you know?
Yeah.
You have this in your notes, but him like the actual shot of him from behind balancing on the roof is very nice. I do. It is very nice.
Yeah, although I'm shouting out to all the giffers out there, you know, Raina, Grace, everyone else is absolutely fleeing me, but I'm really sorry because there are definitely more of you. They're the two I can think of. There are more. Magda, you know, love you all. That yellow filter on the entirety of Outer Banks, but especially season 1, RIP, it was horrendous. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I watched the first episode and was like, oh no. No,
the editors have fought for their lives making gifts up for this show. Like the color balance, oh my God. Shout out to all of you.
Yeah.
Right here.
You don't get paid enough. You don't get paid anything, but you should get paid more.
You don't, not enough to deal with just the filter. So John B kind of gets all of the initial narration and backstory out of the way. He says Teddy is MIA, which, what the fuck? We never talk about Uncle T again.
No. Spoiler alert, read PLTC.
Yeah, read PLTC, figure it out, that's canon. But in the show, we have not yet been told if they ever bring it up again. It's really debatable if they ever will. I'm going to say...
You have a lot of faith saying yet. Like, we are approaching season 3, and absolute crickets.
We went into season 2 being very much like, we don't know what direction the Pates go or how much they do on purpose. And we left season 2 still being like, I don't know what the Pates do on purpose or what they're ever going to touch again. It's very up in the air. But I would say in terms of Uncle T, I would be honest to God shocked if, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched season 2, I don't know why. But if like, I would be shocked if Big John even brings up, where is Uncle T? Like, I will eat my shirt if he even acknowledges it.
And I think it's just, especially, because now Big John's there. There's no need for another Guardian. So...
Yeah, Uncle T who? John B has an uncle?
Exactly.
We're gonna be into season 3 and they're gonna be calling it Aunt Theodora or something. Like, they're gonna forget that it was even his uncle. So his dad is missing. CPS is on his stupid little ass. I'm glad they're on John B's because they sure aren't on JJ's in season 2, but we don't have to talk about that yet.
It's fine. It's fine.
Also, okay, so the frame of season 1 is Agatha. Like, the hurricane comes, knocks out all the power. That's where everything takes place. And honestly, until like I rewatch, every single time I'm hit with the realization of like, this all takes place over a week.
I know. It wasn't until I think in my notes you mentioned this takes over a week, and I said, "OMG, you're so right. What the fuck?" Because I forgot. I'm like, that is an obscene amount of time for like so much to take place.
So much to take place. Like John B and Sarah get together and die. Allegedly over the course of a week. Like, fucking ridiculous. I bet if we counted...
Romeo and Juliet who?
Yeah, exactly. I think if we actually counted the amount of times it's night and day, I wonder if it would actually equate to a week.
Ooh, maybe we should do that. Sure, I'll keep an eye out for that.
Do you think it was... I think it actually, like, for all the shit that we give the Pates, I think it's kind of genius to show the divide with, like... Because this is also where we're starting to get the first taste of, like, Kooks versus Pogues and stuff, and I think it's kind of genius with the Pates, because Figure 8 always has power. And the Cut never does. Like, they have to go to an internet cafe to pick up stuff. And they do stay consistent with that. Like, there's no power in the chateau. It's just, like, an interesting little divide that they show.
And I do think Outer Banks, I would hesitate to say that Outer Banks is going for, like, political commentary on this. And I'd be afraid if they ever went there. If they're like, season 3 is going to be about Black Lives Matter, I'd be like, Outer Banks. Please, let's not do that. But I will say, I think for the most part, especially in episode 1, the kind of like divide, I think the divide is quite well shown. I remember in, like, when Sarah's first introduced and it's the Cameron's house, it's the elegant house, and then Rose is walking up the stairs being like, oh, you know, it's so hot out there, I'm so glad we have air conditioning in here. And I'm like, you know, then you got John B, and you're like, no wonder John B is perpetually shirtless, no wonder no one wears clothes, you know what I mean?
Why do you think
he only has one button done at all times, you know? And then we have all the proper introductions to the Pogues, because like we say, we have, you know, I think JJ's introduced first, I believe. He's introduced with that incredible slow motion tracking shirtless scene of him mowing the lawn. It's so unnecessary. The writers knew what they were doing, or they're like, we're going to put Rudy Punko in Covenant sweat shirt, mowing the lawn. We've never seen him mow the lawn ever. You know, this is like the only time we ever see him do a chore. And I say to that, I say, thank you, Jonas Pate. Female game. Microphone just dropped. That's how crazy it was. I just dropped my microphone. But yeah, so JJ, I think he's introduced as like a lowlife, you know, from a long line of, you know, other... John B kind of throws out a lot of buzzwords here. There's like something about salt and boats.
There's like future tax cheat and something.
Yes,
something else.
And I was like, go off, King. But yeah, so I think from that intro, because it took me a while to warm up to JJ, I won't lie. I mean, that intro sort of immediately I was a little bit like, okay, like I understand what we're going here. I remember I said to my sister as I was watching this, I was like, he's going to be the Styles of the show. And he and Styles
you fucking know.
He and Styles are like very different characters, but like their general, like the best friend who is like immediately endearing. And I'm like, yeah, they have the same bare bones. And I said that to my sister when we first watching. So yeah, that was I was intrigued by JJ. I was like, interesting. I don't know if we're going to be best friends now, but I am intrigued by you.
We have been around long enough to know exactly when someone's about to be Styles Stilinski coded. Like, I'm no stranger. I can pick it up immediately. And like you said, the best friend introduction, best friend since 3rd grade, which, yeah, they literally said 3rd grade. I was like, hello? New Styles?
Yeah.
3rd grade?
Like it's...
Oh, and then and like you said, in order. Then we have Hope, who they immediately drop as the smart, funny friend, which you could argue, in my brain, being like, oh my god, Styles Stilinski coded. Actually, I hesitate saying this because the JJ Popes are simply going to record this everywhere. But I was like, Lydia Martin coded? Question mark?
Yeah, like not to sound like a JJ Pope apologist on camera, but no, I did kind of get it. And things, it's interesting because I feel like on paper, especially in the intro, you feel like Pope would maybe be the more Styles coded of the two because he's like the smart, funny friend. But no, I think there's something about him that's just such a loser. And I mean that with so much affection.
Endearing.
I'm drawing little hearts around his name. Like this is like shortly after, but there's that scene at the boneyard where he's talking to a girl and it's like panning of all the Pogues like really successfully hitting on people, and then there's a shot to Pope and he's like, you know, in movies dead bodies, they'd actually be making a lot of noise from all the gas that they're emitting because they'd just be farting nonstop. And I'm like, Pope, I'm getting down on one knee and proposing to you right now.
This is me.
Yeah. I'm like, Pope, if you're listening to this, consider this my proposal.
I like the creative choice of immediately choosing something that Pope is very specifically nerdy about. He's not just like the generally smart friend, like he is, but he's very specifically nerdy about forensic pathology. Like,
I kind of wish we maybe got more of that throughout the season, but you know,
there are plenty of dead bodies for him to come across. Like,
I know, and
I
think they kind of keep this morbid like fascination with dead bodies in like the first episode, and that's kind of it.
Maybe for season 3.
Bring back creepy necrophilia.
Hold your breath.
Hope.
And then
of course, the love of our life, Miss Kiara Carrera.
Oh my god.
I love her.
Yeah, I was about to say first impressions.
Oh yeah, she was an icon. Like you said, I think as soon as she started talking about turtles in the first scene, I was like, oh yeah, this girl is going to be my best friend. And then we got her introduction and she's like super cool. She's hippie. She can surf. And I'm like, I love that. Like, she's so cool. Although I did write my notes. We did not focus on the dolphin tattoo enough. Like, that's never mentioned again. And also the fact that it says when she's not getting a dolphin tattoo, that implies she potentially has more than one. Like, Kiara, where are these dolphin tattoos? Where are you hiding them?
Yeah, where did she get it from? I think I was like, I was into it, but then as soon as John B went to hug her and she was like, get off me, without even like stopping, breaking her conversation, I was like her.
And then she immediately goes back into talking about the little island of microplastics. I'm like, girl, like heart eyes emoji effect. I love her so much. I think that's like a really good introduction to their like how like I don't know, they're like the nature of their friendship. And I think all of them, they've got this really like good bantery chemistry. And I think that immediately establishes like, yes, these are best friends. They've been together. They've like been best friends for a really long time. They adore each other. And I'm like, they just like, they're so shit eating. And I'm like, oh, I love you guys.
I love them so much. I think in the intro, when they describe Kiara arguably has the most interesting like backstory of all of them, which we'll get into the kook here when we hit that episode when they actually first bring it up and everyone's like, what the fuck? But
yeah,
the introduction of like the Carreras did not start rich. They made like a tourist trap, which is so genius and like of a backstory for them to make. I wish that we'd gotten more of Key cooking. Like, I think he is a good cook in my head, but they never really talk about it. I wonder if season 3 she's going to be like scrounging up fish and making it actually taste good. You know, she would.
Yeah. She's like, I can't be around all these white people. My food needs to have some seasoning.
Please, God. Yeah, I think also, this is interesting. Just from the intros, like, face value, I know that they'd all become friends, and I was honestly expecting them to go more into that explanation in season 1, but whatever. I did not, like, I thought Key was, it just in my head, I was like, yeah, Kiara's, like, the last one to have joined the friend group. But then when you read, like, PLTC, another plug, it makes so much more sense to me that Pope was the last one to join.
100%.
Do you feel that?
Yeah. I think just because when you look at them on paper, like, John B., Kiara and JJ are definitely more, they're all really similar to each other. And Pope almost feels like the odd one out because, like, he is just not like that. So I think, yeah, it definitely, like, I think it's like there's an instinct to kind of be like, oh yeah, Kiara is like sort of the odd one out because she's the only girl. When you then like think about them and their personalities and how they mesh, it's like, oh yeah, like it makes sense that Pope is the one. Like, yeah, I fully am behind the headcanon that Pope was like the last friend to join.
Yes, I really buy into that. We're gonna see we'll get to it, but we'll see in season 3 if they amend the whole kindergarten comment that was made, or if, like, from some really weird, interesting turn of events, they're being sincere, and Key met, like, John B. in kindergarten, and then John B. and JJ became best friends in 3rd grade, and then they're going to say, like, when Pope came into it. But anyways, that's just a side note, and obviously we have to shout out PLTC as much as possible.
Love you,
I totally, just, like, the way they interact, I completely buy the fact that Pope was the last one to join their friend group.
100%.
Just an interesting little side note.
Yeah.
So, they start off their super fun summer for 8 seconds. And then they all get picked up. We have, like, the funny scene with Hayward, which I knew immediately I was going to love Hayward. I want more of him. I need more of him.
Oh my god, Hayward. Like, I mean, again, this has also become a recurring section, and no one will be surprised with this, but Hayward, maybe I'll say this, Hayward's kind of a DILF, you know? And of course it's me, the one bring up DILFs.
It's the energy. But, like, it is. And I feel like the way that he's, like, talking to them and the way that the other two are, like, talking around him also really solidified, like, they've been friends for a while. Like, they've been around, you know?
Yeah. And I think and then at the end of the season, there's that bit where, I mean, spoiler alert, where obviously John B and Sarah presumed dead, and then the Haywards sort of pulled JJ in for the hug. And I think the way I know that they didn't, I can understand why they wouldn't really get more into this relationship, but JJ and Hayward's relationship, I think, is really, like, special. You know what I mean? Like, I think the fact that Hayward, like, that JJ was like, your dad's pussy over, and Hayward was like, I heard that, you little bastard. I was like, oh, they love each other.
Love it. I need more. I absolutely need more. And then, of course,
not to be insane,
JJ helping Keegan to the boat maybe wasn't the first moment that I was like, oh my god, this, But it was the first moment where my eyebrows were raised. I was like, hang on.
Same.
Because let's be honest, like as soon as they introduced the friend group, my brain immediately went to who is she ending up with? That's just how Netflix and teen shows operate. Which I was thinking maybe they were gonna, subvert stereotypes or whatever. They didn't.
No.
But I was like, if they're not going to, like, who is she ending up with? Yeah, exactly. So when I saw JJ Hilburn in the boat, that was the first time where I was like, him. I think I have a suspicion.
I was like, I see it. I see the vision. I was 100% the same. I think as soon as, like, because they're talking about juice box or something, and Jay's like, what about my type of juice box? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I see it.
What do you
mean? Yeah. Well, now we have the introduction of the 5th technical Pogue, Miss Sarah Cameron herself. Bum bum bum. We have the introduction of, it pans over from the cut to figure 8. Figure 8 is equally as wrecked, but there are people cleaning the pool, people moving the palm trees away. Ward Cameron is introduced with his young, beautiful trophy wife, Rose Cameron. And then, boom, 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 Miss Sarah defending mice from birds. I think with knowledge of how she is the rest of the season and, like, the rest of the show, feels like a not very Sarah thing to do. Not that Sarah would be killing mice, but I'm like,
I think Sarah, because, okay, this was in my notes, but, like, the first time we see her, she's, like, defending mice, and then we find out later that her and Key became friends because they were saving baby sea turtles together. So, like, is Sarah an environmentalist? Is this, like, a part of her, like, character or personality that they just kind of, like, forgot about?
Like, it'll be interesting if that is, like, because I think I made a note, I might commented on your note, and I was like, oh, that's so true. And I think it's so interesting in that way because Kiara and Sarah were both introduced as, like, the first things they sort of do are showing that they care for animals. It's almost like planting that first seed of connection between them, which I think is very interesting because Kiara's first line is about, saving the turtles, and Sarah's first appearance is her saving the mice. And I think that's, like, an interesting, like, ooh, connection. This
is the thing with the Pate. It feels intentional. Does that mean that it was? Definitely not. Like, who knows if that was something that they meant to do, or if they just thought it would be kind of silly, goofy to have Sarah, like, running around swinging a tennis racket, Like, that's my sense about it. So you just never actually know.
Yeah, you need to give them the benefit of the doubt, but in both ways. Be like, are they smart enough for this? But also, are they stupid enough for this?
And the answer to both, I'd say, is yes. Anyway, that will be a reoccurring theme. Did the Pates mean to do that? Who's to say?
Well, Alex could be, okay, because Alex is Jonas Pate, but that's, he is behind the laptop right now holding a gun to her head, being like, young actor that I've hired.
This is a wig that I have on right now.
Yeah, I can attest. The wig is giant.
Yeah. And then, of course, oh my god.
Of course,
Jesus Christ. The first time we see her, and it's also, I really thought she was going to be so much more important just from her, like, introduction line because it's so funny.
Yeah, she is so iconic because she's complaining about the Wi-Fi. I can't post anything. And I'm like, you are the modern day Jesus. Like, that's the most intelligent thing anyone's ever said, ever.
You're so right, bestie. You can't post anything because the Wi-Fi's out. Like
that is such a struggle.
I kind of thought she was going to be like, because if that was her introduction and just how surface level the Pates can get and stuff, I thought she was going to be like some nerdy hacker younger sibling. Like, I thought they were going to use her to hack things, or like
she's even wearing glasses.
Really good with computers. They just don't use her. Point. Full stop.
She's just said to be nosy and also iconic, which is not a bad thing. She just kind of appears once every 2 episodes, says something incredible, and disappears. And I'm like, go off.
You're like, are you not seeing this? Are you not seeing the stage presence that you have in your hands? You're just not going to use it? No.
I know. It's a missed opportunity. So, SMH Pates.
Whatever. So then the Pogues pack up, and from this boat wreck that they got into where they found Scooter Grubb's boat, they find the motel key in there, I believe. Am I correct? Yes.
You are correct.
So they go to the motel. Of course, there's the iconic scene where John B. and JJ find the gun and the money before Shoop rolls up, and they have their iconic scene where they're hiding outside on the roof,
of course,
of the motel. And I know I said before, the boat scene was not where I started exactly shipping Giara because it was just kind of like the eyebrow raise. This scene was where I started shipping. This is where 100%. I was like, they're in game. Like I wasn't just watching it and being like, oh my god, I want them to be together. I was watching it and I was like, they're gonna be together by the end of
that one moment where Kiara tells John B to be safe and then it cuts to JJ scowling. That was when I'm almost like that immediately. I was like, ping. I was like, okay, yep, I see what's going on here.
But also I'm like, what the hell is that? I think that is this where we determined that Sunny was the editor that was on our side. That was so intentional.
Giara warrior.
I don't understand. Like, what is the reason? We're gonna harp on this. We've harped on this for literal years at this point in the group chat. But what is the reason? And then obviously, like you know, when they go up and it's the whole scene with John B and JJ where he's, I know that door's locked because I've tried it. What do you mean? You've tried it before. Pardon me. And then he's giving John B such shit about it. Like, I really was watching that scene being like, he cares. Like, why is he trying to push this so hard? He cares.
Yeah,
like
he's so jealous.
They're subtle writers. Amazing.
Sunny will come through for us. Sunny will be the one editing the Giraffe First Kiss episode. Mark my words.
Correct. That is.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, what left to say about the scene? You know, we've got JJ's iconic little housekeeping moment. We've got him being a little fucking nerd with the gun, wanting to take pictures and the like. And this is like a tiny minor note, but I did write this down because it was very important to me. Occasionally, like very occasionally, JJ will do little British accent bits. He does one in the room, and he's like, tissues for when you get lonely. And that just means a lot to me as someone who is also British. I was like, thank you, JJ.
Well, Bailey does it too. Like a good bit.
Yeah. Oh my god, no. Bailey's is kind of good. Like, no offense, really, Punko. Yours is not good. But Bailey's is like kind of, like, she kind of slays. But again, we'll talk about that more in season 2. And then, of course, we have, you know, the police coming in, and then Pope and Kiara trying to warn them, and, you know, we get the iconic, didn't you have to play baseball? Dude, I was on the math team. You're welcome for the American
because this is like where they first start setting up the kind of like weird Key and John B dynamic where you're like, is this, in your opinion, because I think we could honestly talk about this a lot in other, do you think they were trying to set up Key and John B? Or do you think it was just like always going to be a just friends thing? Like, do you think they were ever trying to imply that Key had feelings for him?
I honestly don't know. I think that's really, I don't know, I think it's a tricky question because it's like, I think I'd love to be like, no, I think they were angling for just friends. The thing is that you don't see Kiara be that like that with Pope or JJ. Like, you think, you know, like, I think that is intentional the way they've singled out all these moments where she like tells them to be safe and she like kisses them on the cheek. So as loath as I am to admit it, I don't know, I think maybe they were like feeling the ground and kind of seeing actors' chemistry and seeing, you know, what could be. And I mean, obviously, thank goodness they ended up being like, no, just friends. But yeah, you've made a note, which I very much agreed with. And it says, this was so clearly written by a man, because I think even sort of implying Kiara and John B would be together was the dumbest fucking move, because it opened up the road for so many aunties to be like, oh, she's gotten with everyone. Shut up. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Which I think we could honestly pause here and talk about that. Like, the dumbest fucking argument I've ever heard in my life. And I couldn't put my finger on why it bothered me so bad until Laura responded to a hate post, like an hate on. And I was like, yes, that's it. They were like, oh, I think it just sets the door for, like, he's gotten with all of her friends. And Laura was like, so who cares if she has? Like, what difference does that make at all? It actually doesn't make any difference. I do see what some people say when they're like, it's just, and I think that, like I said, it goes back to being written by a man, where it's just like, so she's never been just friends with any of them then, because I do sincerely think her and JJ obviously are going to end up, like, obviously I think that. And her and Pope we'll get to that. With her and John B, I would like to say, and this is so funny, and I have notes on this in other episodes, I like to think that they kind of hint at the fact that Key is so, like, almost overcompensatingly good friends with John B, because she, like, feels guilty. Yeah. And she was gone. If that's the case, if that's what they were aiming for, excellent fucking characterization. That's awesome. That's really good writing. If they were just throwing it out there for feelers, I think it might have been an accident. Yeah. That they wrote it like that.
But we will definitely take it as her feeling guilty, because I think we touched on this more in depth in episode 2, because I think that's when it sort of reaches its head. Like, this kind of like her overcompensating, especially with Pope and JJ, definitely very much knowing that Big John is dead and being like to John B, being like Kiara's the only one being like, he still could come back. And I think it's definitely like a really interesting choice, and we will 100% take it like this. And again, this is like, was Jonas Pate being a genius, or are we just reading too much into this? That could be the tagline for this podcast. But we will analyze this. And I do think I'm very much in favor of the idea that Kiara is being overcompensating in this way, because she feels guilty about all the time she missed out on, and so she's trying to like play her part.
Right.
And I think that's a very interesting point and observation.
Which, by the way, but that's just a side note. I think it's just interesting to talk about because I've rewatched season 1 so many times, and I cannot tell which way they were trying to portray it. I cannot tell if they meant for it to be that Kiara has feelings for him.
Mm-hmm.
I want to lean towards no.
Mm-hmm. But
who knows?
Yeah. I know, not to give him too much credit, but also I think it's like choose your own adventure. You know what I mean? It's like choose what makes you happiest to believe. And what makes me happiest to believe is that they're doing a really complex writing into Kiara's guilt at not being there when Big John went missing, and is trying to now poorly overcompensate. And that's what brings me joy, so that's what I will believe. And I don't care what anyone else says. So we have, we've now, tangent aside, we now end with them, they get back on the boat. John B and JJ barely escape with their lives. JJ reveals that he's brought money and a gun, because of course he does. JJ and the gun, aka my favorite ship of all time. Jarahu, JJ and gun is where it's at. They get back. They get back to the chateau. They kind of discuss what they're going to do. Pope is, Pope is the moral compass, and he's like, no, we can't spend the money. We can't do any of this. So naturally, their plan is to be like, let's throw a party, because that's how teenage brains work. And introducing our favorite character of the whole show, Mr. Topper Thornton.
This is a Topper podcast first and foremost, I'd say.
Yeah, this is a Topper stan and hate page.
Yes, exactly. I think, obviously, I wish that we had more boneyard scenes. I think technically, like, the boneyard is such a big part of fic. Like, so many people have boneyard in their fic or boneyard-centric fics, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they only have 2 parties, and one of them is not even, like, the bonfire isn't even at the boneyard.
No, so there's one party.
So, which actually I have heard, in episode 1, there was a party that was cut at John B's house, which makes so much sense, because if you watch, like, when he's waking up and, like, after, like, he does the Pogue handshake and, like, JJ's in the room with the girl. JJ's in the room with the girl. There's solo cups everywhere. Key and them, like, look hungover. And it's, like, if you know that was cut, you're like, oh, wait, this makes so much sense.
Yeah, I think my first thought, was that there had been a party, whether they just kind of moved, like, the after party to... I think I sort of assumed they'd moved the after party to the chateau, and that's where they all ended up. But that makes a lot of sense. Boneyard, we love you. We hope to see you more in season 3. We probably won't, because you're all over the world. You're in the fucking Bahamas. But
Boneyard is a state of mind, I think.
Exactly.
At this point.
Yeah, I think we're all in the Boneyard.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we meet lovely Chopper. He's introduced as Sarah's boyfriend, and we have the incredible establishing of the Sarah-Kiara relationship when Kiara spots her and goes super scathingly, what's she doing here? Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome for doing this American accent. Thank you. But yeah, and then of course we have a bit of tension between the Pogues and the Kooks, because of course our man Topper, as well as everything, as well as having terrible taste in shorts and hair gel, he is also a raging classist. Yes, Topper Thornton.
Yeah.
And then he and John B get into a little bit of a tiff. And by a little bit of a tiff, I mean Topper tries to fucking drown him in the ocean.
Yeah, what the fuck? I remember watching this scene the first time and being like, hello. Like, these teenagers are all just standing around.
Yeah,
like I don't think that Pope, JJ, and Kiara together could easily just push him off.
Yeah, like the fact that everyone stays back and like all that Sarah's doing is being like, Topper, no, like he's gonna kill this man.
Topper,
like,
this isn't you.
we really don't talk about the fact enough that Topper Thornton season 1 was going to kill a bitch, and season 3 he's like paragliding. Like I'm not sure that's an upgrade or a downgrade.
That's character development. I don't know which way, but he certainly has changed.
He's progressed somewhere.
Some direction.
So, Alex, what did you think about Topper pulling the gun on JJ?
JJ pulling the gun on Topper?
Yes.
I think that this is a big point of contention. Like, I posed this question in the group chat the other day where I was like, when did you guys start liking JJ? And answers were all across the board. I think that for me, I was like, okay, they're trying to portray him as like kind of aggressive and rash and whatever. Like, we're probably not going to get along that well because I don't tend to vibe with those characters, like the super aggressive ones. Little did I know. I do think that all that the Pate mess up on, their characterization of JJ and like their explanation for why he's the way that he is actually translates very well. So I think that when you find out later, and especially on rewatch, it makes sense that like this is just kind of his immediate response. Like the first thing he goes to is literally pulling a gun on Topper.
Yeah.
And then I also think in rewatch, when you're not just being clouded by like, oh my god, like he really pulled a fucking gun on them.
Yeah.
When you're not like in that mindset, it makes a lot of sense because John B and the Pogues are all that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment of like violence that he's seeing, I wonder if it's not like from JJ's personal experience, that kind of show of force is the only thing that will get someone to steal.
No, 100% agree.
That's my opinion.
And then I'd like the jury to know, I'd like the court to know that Alex made that really thoughtful point in our Google Doc. And I felt like an absolute fool because I watched that scene and that was her really explicit thought. I really thought we'll deep dive into JJ, who JJ is, why JJ pulled the gun on Topper. And my thought was, listen, I'm going to say it. The JB Topper fight was invariably homoerotic. Both them wrestling wet and kind of shirtless in the ocean. Hello.
I mean...
So, but also, like, I do very much agree with Alex's point. I think, especially the example that was set with what we've learned about Luke, I think this feels like not a rational reaction, but a very explainable reaction for what's happening. When we consider that, like I said, Topper was trying to kill John B. Like, that's the angle. Like, we're trying to do a little scare tactic. He was going to drown a bitch. So I think JJ saw that, panicked, I think kind of reverted to what he has sort of grown up around, which is kind of like in moments of like extreme emotion, to kind of resort to extreme violence. And I think I've got nothing intelligent to add. You were that really perfect.
No. Your homoerotic comment is the most intelligent thing that's been said this entire podcast. So don't sell yourself.
I mean, Papa shouldn't be running this thing towards. So. All right, so we've just finished with the boneyard. They've had their rocking fight in the ocean, and then it fades to black. I remember it was a fade to black, which I thought was very tasteful. And
yeah, very tasteful. And then it's Peterkin coming to visit John B at the chateau to tell him that CPS can't be kept up there forever. I have made this note multiple times while watching this. She does not get paid enough for this shit. She doesn't get paid enough to run around after this shirtless 16-year-old telling him that like he has to have a guardian.
Like honestly, like I know that the police are meant to be seen as the bad guys, and I think that was a bit dubious for Peterkin. Like I think she was always seen as like one of those like the good ones. But like Peterkin honestly was the hero of the whole damn show. Like honestly, she put up with so much shit.
Yeah.
That she was not making it enough, and then fucking John B is running around lying about the shit, getting elected on fences. Like my lord, he was. I'm surprised she wasn't completely grey all over. Also, this is me just being obsessed with Adina Porter. I love you, Adina Porter.
Who isn't?
You're my bestie. But yeah, so we have her visiting. I will say that he, Chase Stokes does make John B very, very likable, I have to say. I think it was just like the way he was about her that I was like, you know what, you're a bit of a bastard. You're quite charming, I have to say.
A bit of a bastard, but like we'll go with it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think my final note was, does JB not lock his doors? Like, how could she just get in?
I would say, from the perspective of somebody who lives in the South, small towns, you don't really lock doors.
What?
So Outer Banks kind of feels like somewhere where you wouldn't lock a door.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it used to be way bigger, I think, maybe not as like recently, but definitely like a southern small town thing is like, you don't lock your front door. People just walk in.
That sounds horrifying.
Yeah. It is. Well, like my grandparents, for example, like they never lock their side door. I just walk in when I'm home. I wonder if that's the Outer Banks kind of store, because Outer Banks does feel like the kind of place where you maybe wouldn't. Well, not after the events of whatever the fuck goes down, but Outer Banks does kind of feel like somewhere where maybe you wouldn't lock your door.
That is true. Like, I feel like it's like very town vibes. Everyone knows each other, you know. So we have that threatening scene. It's established that John B is not actively wanted by the police, but the police are keeping an eye on him. So he's like, the intelligent thing to do now would be to steal equipment from the richest man on the island and go diving in a marsh that is fenced off. Because the Pogues are renowned for their critical skills.
Yes. No. I think that he is stupid. Yeah. And I can see where where the birth of Himbo John B was. I mean, honestly, just the decision to go to the man that he works for. Like, how many people are going to have access to the druthers? Yeah. Not many. So, whatever. He's not thinking. I was about to say, what is he thinking? But the short answer to that is, he isn't.
No, he's got one brain cell in his head and it's just sort of like bouncing around. Like the window screensaver. Like, it's, you know, there's nothing going on there. But yeah, so he steals his equipment and then they take Pogue out to Josh and they go a diving.
I think if we see, is this is the same? No, never mind, just kidding. That's in episode 2, we'll get to that. She sees him return the equipment, not take it, I think.
I mean, we have, you know, the iconic diver down, which has become basically group chat lore at this point. Like, it's become to the point. Yeah. But when I watched it, when I rewatched it, when I didn't say diver down, I was like, that's our thing. Like, what? Like, I was like, why are you stealing?
They just took that from us. That was us. We came up with the phrase diver down, actually.
Yeah, we invented it
historically.
But yeah, so we have the diver down, and then we have, of course, the iconic be safe, and then we get the even more iconic JJ look. What do we even say about this look? You know, than just a scream.
Like the fucking the editing. What is that? Why did they make this choice to just like flash to JJ? And they say, okay, here's my thing, is that when they go back later and we have Rudy's kind of like iconic quote about like, we didn't see, it wasn't intentional, but obviously the editor saw something there. It's like, yeah, okay, but that's not editing, that's like directing. Like, someone told you to look that way, you know? So something's not adding up. I think that it is direction. I still am not 100% sold on, obviously, the fact that Giara was unintentional, but this is one of those scenes where I'm like, you can't chalk that up to just editing. Everything about this podcast is just living on the edge, so.
Yeah, it's going really well so far. For the viewers at home, we've edited all this absolute nonsense out. This is, I think, the fourth part that we're filming, because either Alex's connection keeps cutting out, my microphone keeps cutting out, other general roommates come in.
We love it so much.
Exactly, for all you at home, peaceful roommate came in. So, you know, love that. This was a group chat created roommate, so love that. Exactly. Anyway, yes.
So back to do you agree then that like that's direction? That's not 100%. Editing.
Yeah, and this is why I'm always like eyebrow raising whenever Jonas Pate is like, oh, you know, we didn't plan on Giara, we just sort of like went on fan reaction, because I'm like there was a vibe. There was definitely a vibe.
But like you told Rudy to look that way.
Like, there was some, like,
you know what I mean?
Planning on
Rudy to look down, like, don't look at them, like, avert your gaze. So
like, why do you have such an issue with it? Like, it's always saying. So yeah, this was, I think, because I think, like we said, we've kind of like, both of us, I think, feel quite similarly in that we both definitely got the Jar vibes throughout it. But it wasn't until the look outside the motel, and then this, where I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna get together. And
yeah, I thought it was planned at that point.
Yeah, so and that's why I'm very sus when Jonas Pate is like, oh, it wasn't planned, because I'm like, tell your actors that.
Oh, it wasn't? That's crazy. Because that's what wild. Is that? So then they're in the marsh. John B dives and finds the bag that they take back with them, and then we are introduced to the Marshmen who chase them across and shoot at these children.
Yeah, I'm like, you need to remember, these children are like 15, 16 at this point, riding their little boat, and these men are shooting at them with shotguns. So
insane.
Yeah,
absolutely unhinged.
That was sort of a precursor of what was to come. Like, this is the level of nonsense that this show was promising, and I was in.
and I was absolutely hook, line, and sinker. They're chased by the Marshmen, and Kiara saves the day. As she always says, they would be dead. She is the Hermione of the group, and that they would be dead in a day.
Yeah,
without
100%.
Kiara there.
Because she has that really brilliant idea of throwing the fishnet so it gets tangled in the Marshmen's boat engine. And I'm like, that was so slay of her. Like, that is, like, I wouldn't have thought of that, you know, because I'm getting shot at. She was brave enough to get out on that boat when everyone else was ducking, like little pansies. And she was like, no, I'm going to throw that fishnet over. And it tangled in their boat, and their boat stopped. And I'm just saying that Kiara, is the reason that we're alive to this day. So thank you, Kiara.
I think your note is honestly just what sums it up. She's so slay.
I think that's pretty much how we can summarize Kiara in 3 words. She's so slay.
Slay.
Because she is.
Yeah, exactly. And none of the other ones thought of it.
No.
Like, I wouldn't have thought of it, like you said.
Okay, smart one. Hello, Pope.
So the bag that they recover has a compass in it, which gets explained later. It's kind of an iconic compass. Literally saved John B's life in the most ludicrous way. Stay tuned for that.
Trust us.
Commentary. And then the episode ends. Which, okay, like we said at the beginning, I was kind of bored, but you made this note, and I agree. You sit back and you're like, holy shit, that was just one episode.
Yeah, because like in like sort of like order, we have John B, we have everyone being introduced. We have Charles House is being called on John B. We have a hurricane that wrecked the entire island. We have a shipwreck, and in the shipwreck we find a key. And that key leads to a hotel room. The hotel room has money, and the police are interested in this money and gun. We find out that Scootrops is dead. He's also very poor, but somehow phoned it. Right. Are we back?
There we go. You're back.
Okay, as I was saying, a lot happened. I don't know where my microphone cut out, but, a lot did happen.
It's so much. And I feel like one of the things that a lot of people rag on Outer Banks for, rightfully so, is the pacing is just batshit insane. The entire series. So the first episode is like kind of slow, but also so unhinged. Like so much happens, and then I think the next 2 are kind of slow and weird. And then we'll get to it when we get to it. But the last 3 of season 1 are just off the fucking chain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in not a great way, but not a terrible way.
No, like I think you can really do nothing except sit and experience them, And
then have to go back and experience it again because you're like, what the fuck? What did I just watch?
Yeah, and that is, I think, sort of like, Ash Banks' tagline. What the fuck did I just watch? Sometimes positive, sometimes negative, That's up to you.
I'm not mad about it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, me too.
Like, very slay of us to stick around when the show is what it is,
Exactly. 2 years running.
It's a very sad fist bump to the night.
Us realizing on camera that we've devoted 2 years of our life to a boat show. Nearly 3 now. Yay,
finally. Which, by the way, stay tuned. I think I'd be down, Mia, if you are, when I think like an official trailer is released. I think we should do a trailer episode.
Oh my god, yes! And we can do a shot for shot. Oh my god, you can do a shot for shot breakdown on podcast.
Just on live.
Yeah, we can just go frame by frame.
No, we will. Yeah. Like, we'll watch, maybe, we'll talk about it, but maybe we should watch it, like, put it on whatever speed, and I think that we should literally go by frame and be like, oh my god.
But yeah, so stay tuned for that episode. And I think that conclude our episode 1 recap, analysis, review, thoughts, reaction. Anyway, yes, that's
Mia, do you have any further thoughts to add?
Not really. I'm just very excited for this journey you and I are about to take. Yeah, I like that my microphone keeps glitching out. And I'm excited to. Yeah, I'm just excited. This will be so much fun. This was so much fun. I had a great time.
Thank you, everyone. The 13 people who are listening, probably. Maybe less. That 13 is a generous estimate. If you're listening, thank you. Mm-hmm. And we will see you for our episode 2 breakdown because.
Woo! Slay! Well, what's our tagline before we close off? Stay fun,
stay sexy.
Yeah, love that. Stay fun, stay sexy, guys. All right, see you in the next episode. Dive it down. We're not ending on that.